So this is about the event that I just did. It was awesome. It's the first event that I did for evenings with, or like an evening with Willow. I shared the event with my friend Sarah, who's a channel and light language speaker. And the first hour of the event, I spoke to my guides and we did storytelling activations where they come through, they guide, like it's like they come through in the background. I speak, they tell me, okay, remember this story, talk about this story, lead into this, ask this question, and I start telling things. And I'm kind of channeling and speaking the stories as they're sending energy through and activating people. And so we had an amazing time doing this, and a lot of beings came through. I had my merfolk queen that I drew. I put together a portfolio to bring with me of my original art, and so people were able to look through it and get activated in that way. And while we were doing this, all kinds of stuff is coming through. There's one point where I'm talking and doing the storytelling activations, and the one uh, woman, she stands up and she walks out of the room. I told everybody in the beginning, if you need to do something, if the energy gets too high, just do what you need to do because it will get intense. And she had to leave the room because the energy was high and we had to bring it down a little bit. And there was a point where Sarah was doing her thing, and when she did her thing, when I work with somebody, I don't know how this is going to work when I do my solo event. I'm going to see it's going to work a little bit differently. But when I work with somebody, what happens is they start after me typically. And you've seen this with Bailey when I did the global peace meditation with Bailey and some of our other work, is while she's talking, I'm kind of doing other stuff that people aren't aware of. So I actually step out of my body and walk to the side. Now, typically when people step out of the body and move to the side, that's when channels start channeling and beings come in. That's not what we do. We're doing energy, like it turns into like a conduit type of thing. And so I become this conduit for all the realms. And so in the beginning, like I can't remember everybody who showed up. There was a lot of stuff. I was doing this work, and a being was being channeled through Sarah, and she was going around. She's like, okay, I'm going to ask you questions. And my eyes are closed. I'm fixed in the chair. I can't move because when this happens, I physically can't move for an hour. Like nothing can move. I'm just stiff type of thing. Sometimes I'm spinning, sometimes I'm perfectly stiff. And I'm outside of my body behind me, between Sarah and myself, watching everybody. And the being says, like, okay, I'm going to ask you questions. And she turns to me to ask the first question, and she asks the question, and it was like the being and so we haven't worked together like this before. And I could feel the being like feeling my energy and being like, he's not responding, what's going on? And it took a second, and then the being was like, oh, he's doing stuff, and then moved and started, and then just left me alone the whole time. And as I'm doing that, dragons came through. There were a lot of my dragon team was there, breathing fire and energy around their energetic forms, clearing things. Other dragons were coming through, activating people. There was a moment where Doug, I was standing astrally. When I talk about me in a physical sense during this video, I'm astral, I'm out of body. I was standing there watching everybody, and I could see there's a little girl there. She's drawing. She has tons of pixie beings around her, just kind of dancing and playing and having fun. And I have no idea what she's drawing. I can't perceive it. I'm kind of seeing more energy and feeling people in that space. And Doug is there, and he's just like, so if you don't know Doug, he's a juniper gnome who travels with me and stuff. And he's like, I can see you. You're right there. And he's having fun because he's running around the room, doing his thing, but he can see me, and he's making himself known. And he made it very clear to make himself known to the people at the end of the event. And then when there were all kinds of these things, they went through each person and did different activations, told me what they were doing, what they were clearing. And these were things that Sarah, like what she was doing is completely separate for a lot of it. And then what was interesting is she would start channeling. So I would do this stuff, and it would happen 10-15 minutes, and sorry, my nose is running from the temperature difference that happens when that happens. She was channeling, and she would bring through, like, she's like, oh, here's the ocean, you know, imagine yourself on the ocean floor in this. The oceans had already shown up like 10-15 minutes before and started their activations. My queen that I drew showed up astrally, and I'm standing there astrally, and she pops in, and I go, what are you doing here? And she's like, I'm here to help to do some ocean energy work and stuff. And I go, oh wow, because I literally just met you 2 weeks ago. We're still building a friendship. And so she pops in, and the coolest thing happened. She's doing this energy work, and they're bringing through coral energies. They're showing me what they're bringing through. They're bringing through the coral consciousness, the fish, the dolphins, the whales, all of this into these people. There were things they held back because there's things that I'm aware of that people aren't necessarily ready for energetically. And so I could feel things like energies trying to come in the queen and others being like, no, this group can't have those yet. That can't have that. They're not ready for that. Not everybody's ready. So they were very aware of what people were ready for. After all of that, one of the women sitting there, I started telling them, what I saw when Sarah was doing her thing, giving the messages that I saw, the information, the details. And she's like, I knew it. I knew she was there. She goes, she was sitting there at one point, and she felt something happen, and she could feel, she's like, the queen is here. The queen is here. The merfolk queen is here, type of thing, energy. She's very connected to the water. And so people were picking up that these beings were around them in their own ways, feeling them, hearing them, that type of thing. The dragons showed up. The unicorns at the end showed up. Merlin showed up at one point, slammed a staff down, and was doing some vortex energy work with Merlin to bring in Avalon and Arthurian codes and legend energy. He kept saying to me, Arthurian energy, and a lot of people call it Avalon. They for some reason they weren't giving me that word. They were using the word Arthurian. Sasquatches showed up. There was one person specifically connected to Sasquatches. They showed up in force, these astral Sasquatch energies, and started working with her, which my Sasquatch teacher showed up, and I haven't seen her astrally like that for a couple years. Like, we talk telepathically. She showed up, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I'm here to help with her. She needs some help with this. And they start working on her energy, and come to find out that person was having, for the past week or two, has been having signs of Sasquatches being around, type of thing. And so it was phenomenal. The coolest thing, though, about the whole experience, because there was a ton that happened, and I can't even, they were giving messages that I saw. We were doing so much energy work. Gaia was grounding me, helping, like, firming me into place. Galactics were pouring water into me, all this other stuff. And it was just mind-blowing how much work I was doing while my friend was doing channeling, which I don't even know what she said. I don't know what she talked about. I was there astrally, but I was doing work and, like, couldn't perceive fully what she was doing on her end because I was busy, like, type of thing. That's why when she looked at me, I felt her energy looked at me, and I kept telling the energy, I can't talk to you, I can't speak to you, I can't answer your questions, please move on. And the being was like, oh, you're working behind, okay, and moved on. But there was a little girl there who was, I don't know, 6 probably, and I was telling the stories and telling how everything happened, and then I got to the unicorns. They came in at the very end, the unicorns came in, and her mom goes, oh my God, she never draws like this, picks up the coloring book. She had picked a blank page and started drawing rather than coloring. And she had drawn, in the beginning, she had drawn a blue avian, she had drawn different representations of these energies, and she drew the unicorns. She was perceiving all those beings coming in that I was bringing in, and we were working with. She was perceiving all those beings that Sarah and I were activating to which just validated everybody.